So, you want to learn advanced motor run-in. Word of warning, the things you see here are totally on you. I know how they work. I know how to clean things because I've been doing it. Well, it's many years since I've done it, but I still remember all the theories and how to clean things properly. So, with that out of the way, as in the previous video, you want to maximize the amount of contact patch of the brushes to the commutator. But you also now, because this is advanced, we're going to talk a little bit about oils. So in here you will have a brass, well, it's a brass bronze something alloy. It's a porous metal, and what that means, it's filled with small holes. So you can load it up with whatever oil you want, and in theory it absorbs a little bit of that oil. So back in the days there were a lot of different oils made for this. I have my old trusty one. It's still, well, I probably had a lot of these, but these were for brushes, for brushed motor bearings, bushings. And this is somewhat, thick in terms of oil compared to these. You ideally don't want to put this into the bushings here. You want a little bit thicker because it absorbs some of the oil and it will stay there for longer. So if you want to use a thinner oil, at least that was how it was back in the days, you will have to have a very strict cleaning and relubricating regime. So that what that means is that you have to clean your motor after each run, reapply oil. With this, you'll be good for a whole race weekend. And the run-in, as you saw in the previous one, it was done with the car, and you can't really determine the voltage that well. So normally you would use a motor run-in. These one had it. It was originally a charger, but it also had motor run-in. So it had these crocodile clips at the end, which you attach the wires to, and you can adjust the input power and see the amp drawn from the motor. But the difference in this run-in technique I'm going to show you now is that it will run cooler, so you can run it longer. You can run it in longer time. You'll use less time. And in general, it will seat better because there will be generated less sparks from the brushes to the commutator than in the other method. How, you may ask? Electronics and water. So this is demineralized water. So there's no salts. There's no minerals of any kind in this. You can use regular water, it's okay, but you will have to clean your engine a lot more afterwards, or be more detailed about it. So I'm just gonna start up a power supply. The power will go down. So into the motor run-in. I got the motor hooked up here. I'll just start it. So running at, I had it in before just to check if everything was okay. So running the motor, we're given about 0.30 amps, something like that. And this is brand new, so it's running up and down in current because of the brushes being flat. So it's not transferring, it's not transferring a lot of power very efficiently, but it's also doing it rather inconsistently. So you want these brushes to be maximized with the surface of the commutator. So let's just actually hear it. So you hear it's actually running. So it will go up and down in in frequency a little bit at the start because it's pulling in water, and that was just for show. Normally I run it at 2.5, 3 volts, something like that. And the benefit of the water is, as you can see, it's pulling a lot of the buildup that you will eventually have from the commutator and the brushes contacting each other. It will be pulled out of the motor. On the other method, it will stay inside the motor. And this you can run it in a longer time. You might ask, how long would you put it in here? I have them in the bath for 2.5, 3 hours, and that is, if you're doing it with the other method, just putting it in the car and running it, it would get quite hot, and you will actually also risk burning it, not by the excessive amount of power going through, but because of continuous running and buildup of burned off particles from the brushes and the commutator. So after this is done, of course I pull it out of the water. So pull it out, and I drain it as much as possibly as I possibly can, shaking it, moving it around. This is the best solution for it. Turning it down, because you will have this slot. That's actually the only really good opening in the motor. And we'll have some water down here. So, and actually you can see some of the grime coming off already right now. So this was brand new, and this was just what was left in there from the machining. We can check the water as well. So already now. And after you dried this, like really dried this, get some isopropyl alcohol and just dump it in there. Let it sit, stir it around. Do not turn on the power. Do not have this hooked up in isopropyl alcohol and running it. No way, don't do that. Have it in, unplugged, go up and down a couple of times, shake it off, do it again. Just make sure that it's clean. And after you've done that, pull it in your motor running again for like 5 minutes or so, just to get everything reseated. And of course, before you run it in, at the last 5 minutes where it's completely dry, then apply some oil just by the shaft here. A drop. That should be good. The reason why I'm doing this is just it's quite thick, so this will move the shaft up and down and pulling the oil a little bit down. And in the other end, there is a small bushing up here as well inside the motor house, and you will just go like this and pull in the oil, and then you have a race ready engine. So see you in the next one.